Today I want to discuss some of the more interesting and cool maps in Borderlands 2. I think Borderlands 2 is one of those games that's kind of underrated as far as like art style goes, because it is a more cartoony game, and it did come out back in 2012, but this is one of my more favorite games that I've played, so I really do want to go through and kind of point out some of the more cool and interesting parts of maps that I've noticed and seen over the years. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, one of the first maps that I want to start out in is Hammerlock's DLC, Hunter's Grotto to be specific. Hammerlock's DLC is one of the most hated DLCs in the game, at least as far as I can tell by looking at forums and things. A lot of people really don't like this DLC, but I remember from the very first time that I played it, to me it's one of the coolest DLCs style-wise. The enemies are a little irritating, and there's a lot of irritating aspects of the DLC, but to me, it's got a very different feel. One thing specifically that's so weird to me about Hunter's Grotto is, if you notice, the entire map is inside of a cave. So you're outdoors, but you're kind of indoors at the same time. It's so weird. There's always a roof over you. That's what I'm trying to say. Another part of this DLC that's weird is this waterfall. I've always seen this waterfall and have been kind of weirded out by it. There's this weird steam spot that spits out of the side right there. And then there's also, it starts at the top up there and drips down from where, I don't know. You can't see any other water dripping out of the side, so it's just magically appearing on top of that mountain and falling down. And then that one just comes down through a cave. So maybe there's a river that runs up and then funnels down through this cave system right here and washes out down there. I don't know, but it's odd. Another thing scattered through Borderlands that you see a lot are these old dull mines and dull highways. I've always remembered when I started the DLC, I wondered if I could ever get up there. Spoilers, you can, and I'll show you how in a little bit. Just remember that highway. We're now on the other side of Hunter's Grotto, so the opposite side that you have to go through the tunnel to get here. And this is the kind of close to the entrance of Skyla's Grove. But on this side, it's got a really cool ambience too. You can see this is entirely almost like an ocean. So it's like the other side of the cave leads out to an ocean or a really big lake, but there's water as far as the horizon, so who knows how long that goes. One of my favorite parts here is there's a long highway that comes from that mountain. Where that highway goes, you have no idea. If you try to reach the end of it over there, you can't get on top of it, and you can't see where it goes to. But this is the other end of Hunter's Grotto, and it's one of the coolest parts about this map. So remember a second ago when I said I wanted to know if you could get on top of that dull mine station with the broken down highway? Well, here's how you do it. You have to travel to Adoration Station, and when you get here, you have to just go through this fast travel, which is at the end of the map. And when you go through, you get on top of this highway. There's a cool dump truck up here. We'll treasure the view up here for a little bit, show you what it looks like. It's the highest point that you can get in this whole map. Looks pretty cool from up here, huh? So now, keeping with the melancholy theme, I'm going to show you my favorite map in all of the Hammerlock's DLC. This is Candlerack's Crag, and this is one of only 2 maps in Borderlands 2 that I know of, that I can recall at least, where it's actually actively raining. Interesting fact. Also, this giant monster that's basically present through the first half of this map. You see a lot of these throughout Borderlands. I think you even see them in Borderlands 1 too. So a lot of the other Borderlands games have these same kind of giant monsters through them. But I don't know, this one's always stood out to me because I don't know, I guess just the melancholy feel and the skybox and the weather, and then that ominous monster in the background, it kind of ties it all together. I also like this too, the fact that because it's more of a darker theme with like rain and stuff, anytime you see a village or come up on a campfire, the kind of glowing ambience of the campfire is a little bit more exaggerated, kind of sticks out a little bit more to you. But this is one of my favorite maps just because it's really, like I said, melancholy, and I like rainy weather. And being as we're on the topic of rain, I want to point out the only other map in Borderlands that, to my knowledge, has rain in it. And this isn't even so much of just rainy, like Candle Rex Crag was, but this is actually a full-on thunderstorm. So this is Rotgut Distillery. This map gets overlooked a lot too, just because it's part of the Headhunter DLC. But this is actually, as far as the entrance of Borderlands maps goes, this is one of the cooler ones to me. You got the lighthouse off in the distance, the lightning, which kind of shows the skybox. It shows the clouds in the skybox whenever it goes on. Kind of, whenever there's no lightning strikes, the skybox is kind of just this blank texture. It's just like, I don't know, like basically just blue with no real clouds or anything to it. But then you see there when the lightning goes off, it reveals those clouds in the background. And that to me is cool. Also, the seas right here. Interesting fact about this is if you check this map on the fast travel, you can see that the closest map to it is Highlands Hyperion Bridge. And the Hyperion Bridge is right next to that sea, which you can see is just down left of it at the bottom there. And so it kind of makes sense canonically, because Hyperion Bridge is right here, and Rotgut Distillery is right here. So they're both coastal maps, so it kind of makes sense, like in the canon of the game, that the ocean would be right there. But yeah, that's one of the coolest parts about the map, is just all the rain and the thunderstorms and the lightning strikes, and then the fact that they took the time to make the waves splash against the cliff right here. I think it creates a cool little vibe to it. Now to turn to a different DLC entirely, and also, with that being said, a different feel entirely. Now we're going to go to Captain Scarlet's DLC, specifically the map Magnus Lighthouse. This is probably my favorite map in Captain Scarlet's DLC, and truthfully, in Captain Scarlet's DLC, I don't like the vibe of a lot of that whole DLC. I don't know, it's just not really interesting to me. It's all desert pirate ships, which for whatever reason doesn't tickle my fancy. But I always remember, if I had to pick a favorite map on this DLC, it would be this one. And not really for any specific part of the map, except for this last bit here. So you spend all this time fighting through the pirate village to eventually get on the elevator and travel up to this little oasis spot on the very top of the elevator. So after you go through that slog of a fight, you reach Magnus Lighthouse. And this is cool because it's like a little oasis part here. One of the only times you see water in this entire DLC. And the fact that there's grass and stuff up here is really cool. And then you get to go up to the top of the lighthouse. At the very top of the lighthouse, there's actually a really cool view. And you get to kind of see all around. And look at that, another big mountain monster thing like from Candle Rex Crag off in the distance there. You can also see Rotgut Distillery on the side. So yeah, just a cool view from up here. Next up on the list is Wham Bam Island. A lot of people don't really like this just because it's a Headhunter DLC, and a lot of people think the Headhunter DLCs feel kind of lazy, which is true because they're super short. But this one's probably one of the coolest looking Headhunter DLCs. And to me, as far as like playing Headhunter DLCs, I like this one more than the other ones. That might be an unpopular opinion. I mean, look, it's got a water wheel. I like water wheels. Water wheels are cool. There's also pirate ships, which is kind of cool. It's also just, I don't know, vibrant and tropical, and it's got water in it. There's not a lot of water in Borderlands, especially that you can really mess with. Not to say that you can really mess with water in here either, but there is, funnily enough, an underwater section. The only one in Borderlands that I know of, at all anyway. I do not think that there's any other underwater sections. If I'm wrong, please let me know. Okay, moving on to now what is probably one of my more favorite maps from the base game. It's Highlands. Highlands is one of the biggest maps in the base game. And look, also if you can notice the theme here, water wheel. You gotta love it. But specifically, I'm not going to go through all of Highlands, just this main part here. Because this part, I think, is the best view in the Highlands. The Highlands is a really big map, so it would take me forever to really go through everything. But if you fight through this Hyperion factory here and kind of the east then it brings you over here to this cliff. And this cliff kind of lets you overlook everything. So you can see the Bloodshot Stronghold Dam over there, and this kind of cool wash. I'll kind of show you a little closer here. So at the top is the Bloodshot Stronghold and the dam, obviously. The water runs down, and then you can see that the wash that the water creates. I think that's cool, because it kind of goes down through the middle and carves through the path right there and goes toward the dust. You can see the dust there in the distance. So yeah, Highlands is one of the cooler maps in base game to me. Transition 2, the only map in the game that starts inside of a railway station, which is cool. Also, I think the only real railway station in the game. Obviously there's trains in other parts of the game, but this is different. If you can guess what this map is, then you win, and if your answer is Lynchwood, you're correct. Another interesting fact about Lynchwood, it's the only map in the game with an in-game clock, which in and of itself could be a video, because it's an interesting clock, but that'll be a topic for another day. Also, mining equipment. I was trying to think, I know I've seen those little bucket wheel things before, and I looked it up. It's apparently a bucket wheel excavator. And it says they are massive machines featuring a large wheel at the front that uses buckets to scoop up earth and transport it on a conveyor belt. And look at this, right next to a conveyor belt. Now, one thing I don't know are these weird machines here. So if there's any mining equipment experts that can enlighten me on this one, let me know. Although it could just very well be some sort of nonsensical made-up machine. That's probably more likely the case. But anyways, yeah, that's interesting too. Okay, and now to show off the last map in the video, specifically the Mines of Avarice in Tiny Tina's DLC. I would go in depth on this one, but the last time I talked about Tiny Tina's DLC, I made one of the most horrible videos that I've ever posted on my channel that I very soon thereafter deleted. But yeah, basically every map on Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep is really good. But anyways, if I missed anything, please leave your suggestions in the box. Let me know. But these were some of my favorite spots. So, hope it was interesting.